This time, Wang Lin nourished 3 primordial spirits, especially the one belonging to the Yin Deficiency Elder, which contained a vast amount of primordial energy. As a result, Li Yuan's chances of breaking through to the Great Perfection level had greatly increased. Li Yuan had set up some restrictions around him, while Wang Lin sat cross-legged nearby, his eyes deep in thought. Blood ancestor. It really is someone from the Yao family. That elder's thoughts reveal the Yao family's power, especially that blood god of the Yao family. A cold light flickered in Wang Lin's eyes. I, Wang Lin, have encountered many powerful enemies on my cultivation journey. One more blood god is nothing. Wang Lin reflected, asking himself, despite already knowing all this, would he let Li Yuan fall into danger just because that blood god was strong? Moreover, now that he had already offended the blood ancestor, his mind had been made up. As long as I master the divine arts that merge with the world, even if Tuosin comes, I can still escape unharmed. However, some of the memories in that elder's divine sense are intriguing. They might prove useful to me. Wang Lin's eyes showed determination. Sitting cross-legged, he adjusted his primordial energy, continuously refining it. When my primordial energy is fully absorbed, I will be able to approach the true second step, the early glimpse of Nirvana. After a moment of silence, Wang Lin raised his right hand, summoning 3 storage pouches and several flying swords from the ground. These 3 storage pouches belonged to the 3 individuals, and Wang Lin's gaze first fell on the flying swords. These were the ones he and Li Yuan had found in the immortal storage space. His divine sense swept over the flying swords, and Wang Lin's heart stirred. Instantly, 9 swords rose into the air, embedding themselves in the ground, 8 forming a circle, while the 9th pierced the earth nearby. Wang Lin slapped his storage pouch, and immediately, 9 beast bones flew out. The largest one fell into the center of the 8 flying swords, while the remaining 8 surrounded the one that had pierced the ground. This scene was exactly the same as when Wang Lin first discovered them. After carefully observing for a while, Wang Lin recalled his earlier inspection with his divine sense. It seemed there was another imprint within the beast bones, preventing him from fully imprinting them with his divine sense, let alone controlling them. He had suspected then that these beast bone artifacts might have a special activation method. Now, with the beast bones placed back within the flying swords, Wang Lin immediately noticed a change. After a brief pause, Wang Lin extended his divine sense, first merging it with the 8 small beast bones. As his divine sense touched the bones, they trembled, and a strong suction force suddenly emerged, pulling his primordial spirit. His eyes flashed, and his primordial energy flowed into his divine sense, extending outward. Following the pull, his primordial spirit split into 8 parts and merged into the 8 beast bones. The suction seemed endless, as if it would absorb all of Wang Lin's primordial spirit. Wang Lin pondered for a moment, and with a slight mental shift, he withdrew his primordial spirit from the beast bones. He then performed hand seals, marking the surrounding area with restrictive symbols. His primordial energy expanded, filling a 1,000-meter radius, and immediately, a white mist appeared, enveloping the surroundings. This mist contained his primordial energy. Anyone who happened to pass by would be cautious, for the mist carried a heavy pressure. Even Yin Deficiency or Yang Fulfillment cultivators would tread carefully upon seeing this, as it indicated that a second-step cultivator was within, and any attempts to intrude would immediately result in a counterattack from the mist energy. As the mist spread, Wang Lin pondered for a moment before exhaling the fragment seal, merging it with the mist. He then relaxed, closing his eyes in a meditative state. His crown glowed, and his primordial spirit, like a primordial thunder dragon, soared out with a roar, heading straight for the 8 beast bones. As soon as his primordial spirit neared, a suction force emanated from the beast bones. Under its pull, Wang Lin's primordial spirit split into 8, merging into each of the beast bones. Once it absorbed all of Wang Lin's primordial spirit, the 8 beast bones emitted an eerie glow, which grew more intense. Eventually, 8 beams of blue light shot out from the beast bones, all converging toward the center flying sword. Within the blue light was Wang Lin's primordial spirit. His primordial spirit underwent a transformation within the beast bones that he could not fully comprehend, and along with the blue light, it entered the flying sword. The sword trembled, emitting a series of sword hums. Wang Lin's primordial spirit, now consolidated within, felt a wave of intense sword chi emanating from it, striking toward his primordial spirit. Wang Lin's gaze hardened, and his primordial energy suddenly expanded, forming a storm that swept through the sword chi, causing it to dissipate. But in the next moment, more sword chi emerged, as if endless. This isn't right. This is a restriction formation. Wang Lin's eyes flickered with the glow of restriction deduction. He settled into a cross-legged position, continuously calculating, while his primordial energy formed a protective shield around his body, ignoring the incoming sword chi. It was hard to tell how much time had passed, but Wang Lin's eyes flickered as he saw through the formation. At this moment, with a thought, a formation appeared around his body, spreading outward in all directions. At this moment, the flying sword surrounded by 8 beast bones emitted sword chi. The sword shot up, flying toward the beast bone above, which was encircled by 8 immortal swords. The sword's tip pointed down, and sword chi instantly spread out. The sword chi split into 8, merging into the 8 immortal swords. Wang Lin's divine sense once again flew out with the sword chi, splitting into 8 parts, merging into the 8 immortal swords. The previous experience repeated itself, but this time, there was more sword chi. As Wang Lin's divine sense split into 8 parts, each part went through the same scene. 3 days later, the 8 immortal swords simultaneously released sword chi. The beast bone at the center of these 8 sword chi condensed, and Wang Lin's divine sense shot out from within the sword chi, entering the largest beast bone, which had 4 sharp spines. His divine sense merged within the beast bone, and at the same time, an imprint was left. A sense of enlightenment arose within Wang Lin's divine sense. At this moment, he understood the beast bone as if it were part of his own body. After a long while, Wang Lin's divine sense flew out from the beast bone and returned to his body. Wang Lin opened his eyes, a look of surprise and excitement on his face. Truly an immortal artifact. Without a specific method, it would be impossible to leave one's divine sense on it. Once the divine sense imprint is made, one can immediately grasp the method to use this artifact. Wang Lin stood up, raising his right hand. Immediately, the enormous beast bone flew toward him and floated before him. This item is called the Mother and Son Dao Decay. Its power is immense. It is a true immortal artifact. Unfortunately, it was damaged during the battle between its master and the ancient god. With its master's death, it has never been fully repaired, but even so, its power is still astounding. It can be said to be one of the most powerful artifacts I possess at this stage. Wang Lin extended his right hand, and the beast bone radiated with vitality, almost as if it had come to life. It opened its mouth and swallowed, vanishing into Wang Lin's hand. A moment later, a beast bone pattern appeared on the back of Wang Lin's right hand, vivid and lifelike. Not having yet put away the primordial mist, Wang Lin glanced at Li Yuan in the distance. His injuries had recovered greatly, and his divine sense was merging with primordial energy, making its final breakthrough. Whether he succeeded, Wang Lin was unsure. While waiting for Li Yuan to awaken, Wang Lin opened the storage pouches of the 3 dead individuals before him. The woman's pouch contained a few items, but nothing of interest to Wang Lin. He only took the immortal jade and tossed the pouch aside. As for the storage pouch of the young master of the Yao family, it contained several items. Wang Lin examined them and suddenly focused his gaze on one particular object. It was a paper talisman. Compared to the other items, this one stood out. Taking it in his hand, Wang Lin's eyes gleamed with excitement. This was the second paper talisman he had seen in the Luotian star domain. After a brief contemplation, Wang Lin patted the storage pouch, and another paper talisman appeared in his hand. The 2 talismans were roughly the same size, but the symbols on them, drawn in cinnabar, were different. What exactly is this? Wang Lin's divine sense spread out, sweeping over the 2 paper talismans. His gaze immediately sharpened. He sensed a faint fluctuation of primordial energy on them. If it had been with his previous cultivation, he would not have been able to detect it. Interesting, could this be another immortal artifact? Wang Lin fell silent for a moment, cautiously putting the paper talisman away. He had a feeling this item was extraordinary. Picking up the last storage pouch, Wang Lin's eyes flickered as he muttered to himself. The old man's divine sense was in chaos, but his thoughts on the Thunder Immortal realm were crystal clear. He was here on the Yao family's orders, bringing the Yao family members to the Thunder Immortal realm's celestial treasure pavilion to obtain immortal arts. From the old man's thoughts, Wang Lin learned that in the Thunder Immortal realm, a fragment continent had been sealed off countless years ago by the 4 major cultivation families from the Luotian star domain. On this sealed fragment continent, there was a celestial treasure pavilion that contained complete immortal arts. However, this pavilion was created by the immortal emperor of the Thunder Immortal realm and his subordinates, and it had its own set of rules. Whether one could obtain the immortal arts depended entirely on fate. The four great cultivation families from the Luotian star domain had been unable to break the seal and could only send their members here to seek their fortunes whenever the seal was lifted. Over time, the Celestial Treasure Pavilion had become almost exclusive to these four families, with outsiders forbidden from entering. This time, the Yo family did not send a single group, but 10. The Celestial Treasure Pavilion. Wang Lin's eyes sparkled. At that moment, Li Yuan, not far away, began to breathe heavily, slowly opening his eyes. Staring ahead in a daze, he sighed softly, "Thank you, Brother Su, but perhaps I am not destined for yin deficiency. My divine sense cannot contain so much primordial energy." Li Yuan glanced down at his severed arm. After saying those words, he fell silent. Wang Lin raised his right hand, and with a flick, the mist formed by the surrounding primordial energy dissipated, revealing the vast world. His eyes focused, and he carefully looked at Li Yuan before smiling and saying, "Brotherly, there's no need to belittle yourself. Your primordial energy nourishes your primordial spirit. Once all the primordial energy is absorbed, you will surely reach the yin deficiency stage. It might take a while, but it will certainly happen." A gleam of light appeared in Li Yuan's eyes. He nodded, stood up, and bowed deeply to Wang Lin, clasping his fists. "Brother Su, you have done me a great favor. This kindness, I, Li Yuan, will never forget." Li Yuan's words were few, but they came from the heart. For Wang Lin, all he felt was deep gratitude. Wang Lin smiled lightly, stood up, and reached into the void to grab the only remaining unsearched storage pouch. With a sweep of his divine sense, he retrieved it and tossed it to Li Yuan. At the same time, the 9 immortal swords on the ground, drawn by the primordial energy, flew up and landed next to Li Yuan. "Return what belongs to the owner. Take the storage pouch as well. I'm sure the contents will be useful to you." Li Yuan nodded, collected the flying swords, and took the storage pouch. After sweeping his divine sense over it, he took out an item, an ancient mirror. "This is the forbidden breaking mirror, a rare artifact that can break most formations," he said, tossing the mirror to Wang Lin. Wang Lin smiled as he caught it and stored it in his own pouch. "Brother Su, I can no longer see through your cultivation, but clearly, you've made great strides since we last parted. By the way, has the blood ancestor been destroyed by the storage space?" Li Yuan hesitated for a moment and asked. "The blood ancestor's danger has been resolved. He didn't die, but he's nearly as good as dead," Wang Lin said casually, but to Li Yuan, it struck him like a thunderbolt. He fixed Wang Lin with a deep gaze. With his intelligence, he could already tell from those words that Wang Lin's rapid progress in cultivation must have something to do with the blood ancestor. "Brotherly, I plan to travel through the Thunder Immortal realm and seek out all the immortal arts I can find. Will you help me break formations along the way?" Wang Lin asked with a smile. At his current level, in the Thunder Immortal realm, there were only a few people who could match him. Even if Li Yuan were by his side, he would be safe. Moreover, with Li Yuan's skill in breaking formations, Wang Lin wouldn't even need to protect him most of the time, as long as Li Yuan had time to prepare and cast his formations. Wang Lin's invitation had its own purpose. Li Yuan clearly understood the Thunder Immortal realm much better than him, especially in regards to formations, and could easily help him find immortal arts. A look of determination flashed in Li Yuan's eyes. He smiled slightly and said, "Brother Su, whatever you wish, Li Yuan will spare no effort to help you. In this Thunder Immortal realm, give me some time, and I will be able to break all the formations. For example, right here. Brother Su, take a look. This place was once in immortal ruins." Li Yuan pointed ahead. It was a flat plain, covered with weeds and dry branches, rustling as the wind blew. No matter how one looked, it seemed ordinary. Li Yuan, with a single arm, formed a gesture with his hand. His primordial energy was abundant now, and even the formations left by his family's ancestors, which could not be used due to the slave imprint, could now be activated. The sky darkened, and the plain ahead seemed to be a canvas being lifted. As Li Yuan's formation imprint fell, it slowly shattered, revealing a ruined city. A broken stone tablet stood before the ruins, and 3 weathered characters were etched on it. Immortal Summoning Mansion. Immortal arts aren't just about memorizing incantations. Using my Li family's forbidden breaking heart seal technique, after observing traces left by some immortal arts, we can reverse engineer them. This technique is harmful to the body, and my Li family never uses it lightly. But if you need it, Brother Su, I will certainly help." Li Yuan then focused and swept his gaze over the ruined city. After a while, he smiled and said, Brother Su, if I'm not mistaken, this so-called immortal summoning mansion was once a place where immortals conducted transactions before the Thunder Immortal realm collapsed. Wang Lin nodded and calmly walked toward the ruins. Along the way, he saw the remnants of several buildings. This mansion was large, almost like a city to mortals. The entire city ruin was eerily silent, with only the occasional wind sweeping through the debris, creating a sound like faint, sorrowful crying. On the ground, only when the wind blew did small whirlpools appear, gently lifting the dust and scattering it in all directions. The surrounding remains appeared to be what once were buildings, now shattered. Some areas still had residual fluctuations from formations. After searching carefully through the ruined city, Wang Lin didn't find anything unusual. Clearly, this place had been visited many times during the numerous openings of the Thunder Immortal realm. Whenever it comes to a trading mansion like this, the largest shop is always bound to be at the eastern end. Li Yuan's gaze flickered as he looked toward the east. In the eastern part of this ruined city, the wreckage was more severe, with no trace of the shops remaining, only a field of broken walls. Li Yuan took a few quick steps, his body moving swiftly, and arrived at the remains of the eastern end. He crouched down, lifting a large stone that had collapsed, and examined it carefully. Then, with his left hand, he formed a hand seal, seemingly calculating something. Wang Lin calmly arrived at the spot, spreading out his divine sense and sweeping the area, but found nothing unusual. After a moment, Li Yuan's gaze sharpened, and he pointed at a spot in the ruins, saying, "Brother Su, use your divine art to strike this location." Wang Lin said nothing, raising his hand to release a flash of violet lightning, which transformed into a wild dragon racing toward the spot Li Yuan indicated. The violet lightning struck, and with a thunderous crash, the ground shook slightly. The broken walls and stones in the ruins were immediately displaced. At that spot, a pattern appeared on the ground, completely devoid of any fluctuations. It looked like a formation, engraved into the earth. Wang Lin's eyes showed a hint of surprise. Li Yuan stepped forward, took a few looks at the formation, and smiled. "Brother Su, from what I know, even a shop belonging to an immortal would surely have a hidden compartment. It seems I was right after all." Wang Lin nodded and said, "It seems this hidden compartment formation has been here for so long that the immortal power sustaining it is already faded. That's why there's no fluctuation now." Li Yuan crouched down, brushing away a large amount of dust from the formation. After a brief calculation, he nodded. "That's correct. And from the dust, it's clear that no one has been here for a long time. As you said, Brother Su, the formation has lost its immortal power and turned into a dead formation." He continued, "A dead formation, as the name suggests, is one that, after losing its vitality, becomes impossible to break. But I have a way to restore its vitality. Brother Su, I'll need some time. Please wait a moment." Saying this, Li Yuan sat cross-legged, but his left fingertip took a deep breath and placed his hand on the formation. There was a fluctuation of primordial energy on his left hand, and blood slowly trickled from the wound, merging with the formation and gradually spreading out. Wang Lin stood calmly beside him, his mind drifting. He couldn't help but feel a sense of nostalgia. The Thunder Immortal realm must have been magnificent in its prime, with countless immortals. Otherwise, such a vast trading mansion wouldn't have been possible. Moreover, within this mansion, there were many shops. Standing here, Wang Lin could easily imagine, in that distant past, immortals coming and going, stepping on magical artifacts and immortal beasts, just like mortals, exchanging what they needed. The immortals back then probably never imagined that one day the immortal realm would collapse. In silence, Wang Lin couldn't help but sigh inwardly, recalling the enormous handprint he had seen in the Rain Immortal realm. That handprint was powerful enough to shatter the earth. What a pity. If only Li Yuan could go to the Rain Immortal realm. I wonder if his heart seal technique could reverse that handprint's power. Time passed slowly. Li Yuan's face grew pale, and the blood on his left hand slowly flowed down, spreading through the entire formation. Gradually, the formation seemed to come alive, and subtle ripples appeared. Li Yuan's gaze sharpened, and his left hand touched his forehead. At that moment, a black line shot out from between his brows, transforming into a restriction that landed within the formation. Li Yuan quickly formed another hand seal, preparing to continue with the restriction. But just then, as the restriction created from the black line entered the formation, the entire formation suddenly emitted a brilliant beam of light. The light shot straight into the sky, and even from a distance, it was clearly visible. Li Yuan froze, his left hand's restriction disappearing before he could complete it. How is this possible? The Immortal Formation. It's opening for the first time. It's actually opening for the first time. Li Yuan stared at the light beam, his eyes growing brighter. Wang Lin furrowed his brows and glanced at the light beam. Its sudden appearance was too abrupt, with no prior warning, making it impossible to prevent. Moreover, from Li Yuan's expression, it seemed this had taken him by surprise as well. Brotherly, Wang Lin said calmly. Li Yuan took a deep breath. At this moment, the light beam began to fade, gradually contracting. It looked like it would soon dissipate completely. Wang Lin's divine sense swept over it and immediately noticed something strange. It seemed there was a suppressed immortal power inside the light beam, erupting out. If the immortal formation is activated correctly, this wouldn't happen. But if it's activated in another way, the first time it opens, there will be a spirit release. Only after the formation's spirit is released can one enter. Li Yuan fixed his gaze on the fading light beam and said in a deep voice, "First time." Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. That's right, this formation should have been opened in a different way for the first time. Once this light pillar dissipates, we can enter and see what's inside. Li Yuan stared at the formation, licking his lips. Wang Lin nodded. Suddenly, his expression shifted, and he looked up into the distance. After a moment, two sword lights howled through the air, radiating a strong ripple of immortal power. Clearly, they had been drawn by the light pillar and were coming to investigate. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze. He reached down and grabbed the ground, causing a large section of broken walls to rise into the air. With a single grab, they shattered with a loud bang, instantly turning to dust. With a flick of his wrist, the dust spread out wildly. In the blink of an eye, within a radius of 1,000 feet, the broken debris formed a ring, spreading out as if creating an artificial barrier. Anyone who enters, dies. Wang Lin's gaze fell upon the fading light pillar as he spoke calmly. Though his voice was faint, it struck the two distant figures like thunder. Both were at the mid-stage of the Ascension realm, and they felt a strong tremor in their minds. Even the sword lights beneath their feet wavered. Terrified, they stopped abruptly at the edge of the circular dust, too scared to step forward. They exchanged a glance, pale-faced, and immediately retracted their sword lights. One of them clasped his hands respectfully and said, "We are disciples of the Zhao family from the Luotian Western region. We humbly obey your command and will not step in." The light pillar continued to dissipate rapidly. Li Yuan's eyes gleamed as he stepped forward a few steps, waiting for the pillar to vanish completely. Even the two cultivators 1,000 feet away widened their eyes and stared closely. They had never seen such a scene, but after a little thought, they immediately guessed that there must be some treasure emerging here. Though they didn't dare snatch it, they couldn't miss the chance to witness such an event. Perhaps the earlier event of the formation releasing spirit energy had been so intense that all the cultivators on the fragment continent had clearly seen it. For any cultivator who witnessed it, the first thought that came to mind was that there was a treasure to be found. With this thought in mind, almost all the cultivators rushed toward the light pillar. The two Zhao family cultivators, being closest, arrived first. Before long, several long rainbows streaked across the sky from all directions. The people within these rainbows had varying levels of cultivation, but none had reached the Yin deficiency stage. Most were at the perfect stage of ascension. Once they arrived, they immediately saw the 1,000-foot ring of shattered dust. They stopped and did not act recklessly. Instead, they observed closely, their gazes falling upon the light pillar that was about to completely dissipate. Greed flashed in their eyes. However, when they saw Wang Lin, their expressions immediately changed. They could sense a surge of primordial energy coming from him, and they all took a step back, not daring to enter the 1,000-foot radius. Wang Lin ignored them, and even Li Yuan didn't pay them much attention. After a moment, the light pillar fully dissipated in front of everyone's eyes. As the pillar vanished, a dark cave appeared at the center of the formation. A wave of immortal power radiated from within, and even those 1,000 feet away could clearly sense it. Hidden and deeply greedy gazes immediately converged on the dark cave. A subtle tension rose in the hearts of the cultivators standing 1,000 feet away. If Wang Lin hadn't been present, they would have rushed in immediately. The temptation of the dark cave for any cultivator was immense. It was all due to the unknown. No one knew what lay within the cave, but the more uncertain it was, the stronger that feeling of desire became. At that very moment, a mad sword she howled from the horizon. A surge of heavenly and earthly primordial energy spread out, charging directly toward this location. It seemed that the 1,000-foot barrier was invisible to this person. The other cultivators outside the 1,000-foot radius suddenly glinted with strange light in their eyes, itching to move. The heavenly and earthly primordial energy coming from the sky indicated that a second-step cultivator was approaching. Amid the spreading primordial energy, a yellow figure flew swiftly through the sword light. The dense primordial energy emanating from his body clearly indicated that he had reached the peak of the Yin deficiency stage. As he approached, the cultivators 1,000 feet ahead scattered, not daring to block his path. The distance between him and the 1,000-foot boundary grew smaller. He was fully aware of the swirling dust ahead, but his speed never slowed as he charged directly into the 1,000-foot radius. The force of his charge caused the dust ring to immediately swirl backward. When this scene unfolded before the surrounding cultivators, they all immediately began to observe. In their eyes, Wang Lin was a master of great skill, and this young man in yellow robes was also a formidable cultivator. The two of them would surely clash over the Immortal Formation's hidden cave. Fights of this level were rare. Some cultivators even entertained the risky idea of benefiting from their potential injuries. Li Yuan's expression shifted slightly. As he hesitated, Wang Lin's calm voice reached his ears. "Brotherly, go down first." Li Yuan remained silent as he leaped into the dark cave. The moment he landed, the young man in the yellow robe was already rushing toward him. Wang Lin's gaze was calm. He raised his right hand and swung it through the air. Instantly, a flash of purple lightning appeared, enveloped in a mist of violet. As the lightning surged forward, the mist followed closely, heading straight for the young man. The young man's pupils constricted. He had seen Wang Lin but felt secure due to his special status and the arrival of family members nearby, thus he did not regard Wang Lin seriously. At this moment, he chuckled heartily, sharpened his right hand into a claw, and 5 wisps of dark energy swiftly emerged, reaching out to grab the lightning fiercely. The 5 dark energies shot out, weaving around and immediately engulfing the thunder. "Devour," the young man shouted, and the 5 dark energies transformed into 5 black dragons, opening their massive jaws to consume the lightning. In the blink of an eye, they had swallowed it, coiling back around their master. As the 5 black dragons spiraled, their bodies expanded instantly, turning into 5 gigantic dragons 100 feet long. This drastic transformation caused the young man's aura to surge dramatically. "Your divine art is impressive, friend. Let's pause before engaging. I am Tang Yinyan, and I wish to explore the immortal ruins with you. What do you say?" The young man spoke slowly. Given his status, it was remarkable for him to extend this invitation. Had Wang Lin not seemed to possess cultivation realms comparable to his clan brother, he would never have uttered such a request. As these words left his mouth, the cultivators 1,000 feet away immediately changed expressions, with one exclaiming, "The Tang family. Is it the Tang family from the southern Luo Heaven domain?" At that moment, the crowd of cultivators fell into deep contemplation. Wang Lin gazed coldly at Tang Yinyan and replied calmly, "You are unqualified." Tang Yinyan was taken aback. While he had anticipated a refusal, he could not have expected such arrogance from Wang Lin. His expression darkened as he sneered, "Then I'll take my leave. Tang is sorry for the disturbance." As he retreated, he thought, "This person surpasses me in cultivation. It's best not to fight now. I'll wait for my clan brother to arrive before making my move." Though the Tang family was not an ancient clan inherited from the Immortal Realm, they were still significant in scale. They had come to the Thunder Immortal Realm in large numbers, remaining together. He was merely the one scouting ahead. Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged as he stepped forward. With each stride, the dense primordial energy surged within 1,000 feet. His pace was steady and unhurried as he approached Tang Yinyan. Tang Yinyan's face turned sullen as he retreated rapidly. At that moment, Wang Lin's calm voice echoed, "You are also unqualified to devour Su's lightning." At the sound of his voice, the 5 towering black dragons surrounding Tang Yinyan unleashed pained roars as lightning coursed through their bodies, creating a thunderous cacophony. In an instant, there was a thunderous explosion as one of the black dragons collapsed. Simultaneously, amidst 4 astounding detonations, the other 4 black dragons also self-destructed. Caught in the shockwave of the immense force, Tang Yinyan's expression changed drastically. He formed intricate hand seals, causing a black dragon imprint in the center of his brow to flicker. A rush of black aura emanated from it, enveloping his entire body and shielding him from the impact. He drew a sharp breath, cold sweat beading on his forehead, filled with inner anger at being attacked without provocation. He questioned his outward lack of hostility, wondering how Wang Lin could perceive any ill intent. However, before he could voice his thoughts, Wang Lin's icy gaze flashed. He lifted his right hand and pointed forward. At that moment, the beast bone pictured on the back of his hand seemed to come alive, writhing as it transformed. In an instant, a massive beast bone appeared before Wang Lin, its four sharp spikes gleaming with a cold light. As soon as the beast bone materialized, it shot forward toward Tang Yanyun. Tang Yanyun's face darkened. As he retreated, the black dragon imprint on his brow flickered again. This time, black mist manifested, infused with primordial energy. Under its power, the imprint directly transformed, detaching from his brow. A colossal black dragon surged forth from the mist, opening its maw wide to fiercely devour the beast bone. This black dragon was about 1,000 feet in size, emanating an overwhelming pressure. Its pitch-black body was covered in countless dragon scales, etched with runes. This one bite seemed to consume the very essence of the world, releasing boundless fluctuations of primordial energy. Primordial Dragon Devour! Tang Yanyun shouted, not pausing for an instant as he swiftly retreated. At the moment when the primordial dragon devoured, two eerie flames suddenly ignited within the massive black holes where the beast bone's eyes should have been. In that instant, it seemed as if the beast bone had awakened, and a surge of murderous aura erupted abruptly. This aura was incredibly dense, but it appeared only for a fleeting moment before vanishing without a trace. Everything happened so fast. As the murderous aura dissipated, the black dragon that had been devouring suddenly widened its dragon eyes, bulging out in shock. A look of horror flashed in its eyes. Its enormous body froze in place, and grayness began to spread wildly from its tail. In almost an instant, the entire body of the black dragon turned completely gray. This gray was the color of stone. The black dragon, which had been conjured by a spell, was instantly transformed into a stone statue. Even the primordial energy surrounding its body turned to stone at this moment. With a loud crash, the black dragon fell from the air and smashed into the ground. This scene seemed to freeze everything around, causing everyone who witnessed it to gasp in astonishment, their eyes wide in disbelief. What? What kind of artifact is this? Tang Yanyun stared blankly at the stone statue fragments on the ground, a look of horror in his eyes. The cultivators, who were 1,000 feet away, felt their hearts racing uncontrollably. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Fear swept through them like a storm, and the 1,000-foot distance, which had never felt so dangerous before, now seemed like a deadly forbidden zone. They felt as though it were a thunderpool, not daring to take a step closer. Almost unanimously, those cultivators still at the first step took several steps back, as if the previous proximity to the 1,000-foot distance had been too close, fearing they might be affected. The cultivators who had once hoped to gain an advantage by having the two fight each other immediately dismissed the thought, cold sweat running down their backs. In particular, the Zhao brothers secretly rejoiced that they had not ventured within the 1,000-foot radius. Otherwise, they might have been long dead by now. To them, that 1,000-foot radius was not just a distance, but a forbidden area where death awaited. At that moment, these cultivators clearly remembered Wang Lin's appearance. Wang Lin had become deeply etched in their minds. Wang Lin stepped forward and raised his right hand. The beast bone immediately retracted and merged into the back of his hand, transforming into a pattern. Without slowing down, he took a single step and appeared in front of Tang Yanyun. His right hand, with 2 fingers, contained a trace of primordial energy and pressed down toward him. Tang Yanyun trembled, his eyes filled with shock. Without hesitation, he attempted to teleport away in an instant. But at that moment, Wang Lin snorted coldly. The surrounding area within 100 feet was immediately filled with dense heaven and earth primordial energy, which suppressed any possibility of teleportation. This divine art was something Wang Lin had developed himself. By applying the pressure of primordial energy, teleportation was rendered useless. With a finger, Wang Lin pressed it against Tang Yanyun's forehead. Just as he did, several long rainbows swiftly appeared from the distant horizon, accompanied by a sinister voice. "Kill him, and you will be buried with him." Wang Lin furrowed his brows. As his finger landed, his primordial energy surged in, causing Tang Yanyun's body to instantly collapse into a mist of blood. Even his primordial spirit was shattered. Within 1,000 feet, anyone who enters will die. Wang Lin turned and walked toward the dark cave. The 1,000-foot radius was his forbidden zone. With his presence, no one could enter. At this moment, Wang Lin had the right to say such a thing. At that moment, a cry of surprise came from within the dark cave, followed by Li Yuan rushing out. Upon seeing the black dragon's stone statue fragments on the distant ground, he immediately transmitted a message to Wang Lin. "Brother Su, I have collected the treasures below, and I also found a secret passage. I don't know where it leads." Long rainbows descended from the sky, transforming into 4 figures, 2 men and 2 women. Among them, one man was extraordinarily handsome, though his lips were thin and his gaze was cold. If Xun'er were here, he would instantly recognize this man as Tang Yifeng, the one who had mocked Xun'er's lord in front of the Thunder Immortal Realm Gate. The 1,000-foot Forbidden Zone. Who do you think you are? A middle-aged man beside Tang Yifeng sneered as he took a step forward, entering the 1,000-foot Forbidden Zone. Behind him, a young man with a proud expression also stepped into the zone. Wang Lin's expression remained calm as he turned to glance at the middle-aged man. Though his cultivation was insufficient to directly intervene, he was confident that with some time, he could leave a restriction that would ensure none of those outside could enter in the short term. This was essentially opening a backdoor for Wang Lin. Wang Lin's gaze was different from when he had first looked at Xun'er after reaching the third step. At this moment, his gaze held a profound sense of confidence in his cultivation and understanding of his own Tao, especially after sealing the blood ancestor and killing 2 deficiency cultivators. This glance seemed to encompass everything. The middle-aged man sneered, and as he noticed Wang Lin's gaze, he did not stop but instead took another step forward, crossing dozens of feet and heading straight for Wang Lin. It's truly a joke. How dare someone even boast about entering the 1,000 Forbidden Land within the Thunder Immortal Realm? However, his words abruptly stopped as he caught sight of Wang Lin's gaze. That gaze was icy and calm, as though looking at a dead person. But to the middle-aged man, it felt completely different. The moment he froze, it seemed as though everything around him had vanished in an instant, leaving only the weight of that gaze. There was no murderous intent in the gaze, only calmness. But that calmness caused the middle-aged man to shudder. His entire primordial energy began to circulate uncontrollably, as if doing so was the only way to counter the threat that gaze brought. Cold sweat beaded on his forehead. As Wang Lin's gaze fell upon him, he almost immediately felt as though every part of his being, both physical and spiritual, was laid bare, like he was standing naked before the other. The sensation was overwhelming. As it intensified, it felt as though his primordial spirit was changing under that gaze, like it was being completely transformed into raw primordial energy, with no trace of his former self. This was a sensation he had never felt in all his years of cultivation. It was as if his body, his spirit, and everything about him was slowly fading away under that gaze. By the end, he even felt an eerie sense of being non-existent. A mouthful of blood surged from his chest, and his complexion immediately turned an unhealthy shade of red. He coughed up blood, his eyes clearing up, but the clarity in them was mixed with shock. All of this happened in the span of just a few breaths, so fast that the others barely noticed. The moment he spat out the blood, Wang Lin moved. He took a single, calm step forward. There was no sound when his foot landed, but the middle-aged man's face immediately turned ashen. Without a second thought, he quickly retreated. He didn't know why, but that single step felt as though Wang Lin had stomped directly on his primordial spirit. The indescribable sensation made his heart tremble. Before, he had been brave enough to move forward, thinking that with 4 people on his side and Tang Yifeng present, he had nothing to fear. But now, he felt as though he were facing a grandmaster with Yang fulfillment cultivation, alone, and without hope of survival. It was as if stepping back was the only choice to avoid certain death. Wang Lin's expression remained calm. After the first step, he lifted his foot and took 10 more steps toward the middle-aged man. With each step, the man's face grew more and more pale. To him, it felt as though every step Wang Lin took was like the rumbling of thunder, each one almost crushing his mind. His retreat was almost uncontrollable. He instinctively moved back, and his heartbeat quickened in sync with Wang Lin's steps, faster, more violently, until it felt as though it would tear him apart. After 10 steps, Wang Lin paused, his foot coming down with a cold gaze. The moment it hit the ground, the middle-aged man spat out another mouthful of blood, his entire body seeming to go mad as he stumbled backward. He didn't realize that he had already stepped far beyond the 1,000 Forbidden Land. When Wang Lin's right foot finally touched the ground, the man's heart rate reached its peak. Thump, 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 boom. His heart instantly exploded. His primordial energy, no longer under his control, violently surged through his body, then shot back to tear apart his primordial spirit. The surroundings were completely silent. Tang Yifeng's eyes showed a cautious look. Since he began his cultivation, there had been few peers who had ever made him feel this way. He wasn't just cautious now, he was filled with awe. He could see, with his vast experience, that the middle-aged man's death was linked to primordial energy. Wang Lin had cleverly manipulated the surrounding energy, creating a force so overwhelming that it crushed the man's heart. The woman beside him had a grim expression. She stood just outside the Thousand Jing Forbidden Land, but she didn't dare to step forward. It was as though the Thousand Jing Forbidden Land had truly become a place of death in that moment. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze from the middle-aged man and turned it toward the young man who had followed him into the Thousand Jing Forbidden Land. The young man's face immediately drained of color. His cultivation was weaker than the middle-aged man's, barely reaching the Yin deficiency stage. His primordial energy was still unstable. Seeing Wang Lin's gaze, he immediately retreated beyond the Thousand Jiang boundary and quickly clasped his hands, saying, "Senior, please forgive me. I know my mistake. From this moment on, I will never step into the Thousand Jiang Forbidden Land again. If I break this vow, may I suffer the same fate as this." He said this and raised his left hand. As his primordial energy surged within, his pinky finger instantly exploded into a mist of blood. Wang Lin glanced at the young man before turning his gaze away. The young man let out a deep sigh in his heart pounding fiercely. Compared to this pinky, his life was far more important. All the excitement he had felt about becoming a Yin deficiency cultivator vanished in an instant. He kept reminding himself that in the future, he must act with caution above all else. Wang Lin didn't look at the others who were 1,000 feet away. Instead, he turned and walked towards the dark cave where Li Yuan was, stepping inside. At that moment, Tang Yanfeng suddenly spoke up. "Fellow Taoist, may I know your name?" "Sumu." Wang Lin's voice echoed from within the dark cave, and immediately afterward, the restriction barrier's glow flickered, sealing it completely. "Sumu." Tang will remember it. Tang Yanfeng had been wanting to take action from the start but held back in the end. He simply didn't have the confidence to defeat him.